Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to My World. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer, the greatest professional wrestler of all time, your friend and mine, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, how are you, man?
Oh, Conrad Thompson, happy My World Day. I have already been talking for like 90 minutes today already. Good little workout, eating me some oatmeal as we speak. Dave Silva through the screen. He's over there waffle stomping and drooling at the mouth, looking at my oatmeal. He thought it was, I better not say what he thought it was. So, Conrad, how you doing, pal? It's May. We had a little heat wave come through, lots of rain. You keep sending me those pictures of them big-ass fish that are being caught down there. Connie, how are you?
I'm all right, Jeff. I do think we should start with some less than awesome news. You and I have known that he was battling some things behind the scenes, but last week, Jim Ross finally made it public news that he has been diagnosed with colon cancer. He expects to have surgery in the coming weeks. And obviously, it has been tough news for the wrestling community. I mean, good old JR is not just a moniker that was assigned to him by Vince McMahon. Jim Ross is the voice of wrestling, and he has the trademark to prove it. But when you were interested in trying to work with New Japan to expand their program globally, you called Jim Ross. And when Tony Khan was hoping to launch a challenger brand for WWE, he called Jim Ross. And when World of Sport wanted to make a big splash across the pond, they called Jim Ross. Jim Ross is the greatest announcer in the history of professional wrestling. And if you're listening to this podcast, you already know that. So on some weird level, Jeff, it almost feels like JR is kind of almost every wrestling fan my age. He's almost like our Uncle Jim. And the idea that we know he's going through this, man, it's just it's a punch to the gut, Jeff.
I was going to say life will give you a kick in the balls out of nowhere, and in a lot of ways, Connie, as we both know, that's what makes it life. You know, we are. I don't want this to be too much of a downer, because you know what, with treatments today and the way the medical and the holistic fields can attack things. But when you get news like this, it's like a punch in the gut, kick in the balls. But man, you just nailed it, because I've had two different. You nailed two of them right there. The New Japan Wrestle Kingdom. What a great experience that was, and kind of running by the seat of our pants, and in a lot of ways put old JR and got the opportunity, me and Scott D'Amore kind of got to put fight on the map, if you will, and that took off. And then several years later, that World of Sport, I'll never forget. I'll leave the names out of it, but when he was announced, next thing you know, JR got his jersey back, WWE. So, and the thing that I most appreciate, well, there's a lot of things about JR. Obviously, his enthusiasm and passion. But, man, when you really know, and you know it better than I do, Conrad, because you've done the pods. But, going back to day one, Bill Watts, the cowboy, as JR would say, how Jim came up in the business, refereeing. I just think there's so much value in paying your dues. And if you really look around at every successful person in this industry, you can't really go into their success without talking about how'd they pay their dues. And old JR did it. And man, he had a rough go working for the chairman off and on for several years, but man, he persevered. And yes, you've hit several of the highlights, but man, I wish him nothing but the best. Good old JR, the whole wrestling world's pulling for him. And I got a lot of optimism just because of the way medical fields treat things now, man. They can have fantastic success.
Anybody who's had a family member who's had to deal with cancer knows that on some level, man, it's a great thing that surgery is an option. because when surgery is not an option and you have to do all the other alternative methods of treatment, boy, that's a tough deal. So I'm hopeful, and I'm going to throw one up for JR today, as I have been for the last few weeks. And I hope that everyone listening to this, if you believe in the big man upstairs, that you'll add good old JR to your list this evening. I do want to mention that probably means that Jim is not going to be making the AEW pay-per-view this weekend, but I know you're going to. There's going to be a who's who are there. We've got Mercedes Moné and Jamie Hayter. We've got Will Ospreay and Hangman Adam Page. And those are your finals matches for the Owen Hart tournament. This was something that you were a big part of last year. You weren't a part of the field this year. Do you have any predictions? You think it's going to be Hangman or Will Ospreay on the men's
side? I know from behind the curtain, if you will, that you've been a very busy man, but AEW just put out something. Gosh, was that Friday? But me and RJ and Renee sat down in a studio offsite outside wherever we shot that at. But we really got in. I'll call it, like Conrad, it's out. But I know they had to edit that down just for time. But man, we had some good, healthy conversations. And in that conversation, the reason I tell you all that is that I flip flop. We all did a couple of different times, but look. I just think in 2025 at this stage, my money's on Will Ospreay. I think he's damn near unbeatable. He is a big money guy, not to say Hangman isn't. And Hangman is a sentimental favorite. It's in Texas. We all know about that cowboy shit, the belt buckle. But and then on the flip side, Mercedes, as long as she doesn't overlook her opponent and she stays laser focused, you got to go with Mercedes. But again, I think we're going to see two fantastic contests, and I'm going to be surprised if they're not 1A and 1B match of the night.
It's going to be an incredible show. It feels like AEW always over delivers on pay-per-view. We've got Toni Storm going to be defending her title. We've got Nigel McGuinness tagging with Daniel Garcia to take on FTR. Super pumped to see Nigel back in the ring. And we've got Mark Briscoe taking on Ricochet. This is a stretcher match. That's an old school stip. I like that. I think we're going to see some crazy violence and some high spots. I mean, Lord have mercy. There's no telling what you're going to expect in any Ricochet match, but you throw the words Briscoe and stretcher in there. Woo, it's going to be wild, isn't it?
He said old school stipulation. Conrad, I was down in Tullahoma last night, a little independent show, Action Sports Wrestling. But I love my independent wrestling and got to see some. But they had a fans lumberjack strap match and a raffle drawing. The fans got to if you got your number picked out of the hat, and you get to be a fan. But Briscoe in a stretcher match. How are you going to keep that guy down? Ricochet, and man, just Zach Gowen, and just how I think the organic heat or the organic turn, or I don't want to call it, just kind of the organicness, if that's a real word in the English vocabulary, of Ricochet. I think these two guys are going to tear the house down. I think it's going to be very entertaining. But, man, nobody's going to – you ain't stretching Briscoe out of the building, I think, under any circumstance.
Well, can't wait to see it. It's happening this weekend. It's Double or Nothing. And as a reminder, it's not in Vegas this year. It's in Glendale, Arizona, and it's this Sunday, May 25th. Of course, you can catch the pay-per-view on Triller TV, and that's where I'll be watching, of course. But what's interesting to me, too, speaking of AEW news, is immediately after the big pay-per-view, the first ever stadium show in AEW history here in America, All In Texas, which is going to be at Globe Life Field right there in Arlington. Immediately following that, it was just announced that AEW is going to take up a multi-week residency in Chicago. Dynamite and Collision are going to be there all throughout July 16th and 17th, 23rd and 26th, and then 30th and 31st at the Aragon Ballroom. What a beautiful building that is. Tickets went on sale earlier today as you and I are talking at AEWTIX.com. But I love this, man. We've seen the announcement that AEW is going to be doing a residency at the 2300 Arena, which we still commonly refer to as the old ECW Arena. And now the Argonne Ballroom in Chicago. These are hotbeds for wrestling. Philadelphia and Chicago. I think we're going to have beautiful buildings and a hot, rowdy crowd. I like this idea. And it is maybe a derivative of what you did once before when you set up residency in Orlando. Now, of course, over a 52-week period, maybe that's a little different than what we're doing here with these 3-week residencies. But I kind of dig this, and I understand it from a business standpoint. What do you think, Jeff?
Well, not just business sense. And look, Conrad, we have shared many, many times on this show, and there are guys, I'm not kidding you, Conrad, many times I've had the conversation, and a younger guy will say, "You mean you wrestled in the Louisville Gardens, or plug in the Nashville Sports Arena, or the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, or Evansville? You mean you did that every Monday night in Memphis?" "Yep." "Same building?" "Yep." "Well, y'all had a different crowd." "Nope." Matter of fact, most of ringside had standing reservations. "You mean to tell me people went to wrestling every Monday night?" "Oh yeah, for years and years and years." And so what we do is episodic. So, it's kind of split in the middle. Orlando, there was so much upside, and we've talked about the business aspects. What a slam dunk. But I do like Philly. I do like Chicago. I think there's a couple of different hotbeds. I think it is a good set of circumstances that you can tell your stories. This Argonne, I think I'm saying Argonne Ballroom. It's got a lot of mystique to it, but it creates. At the end of the day, we're creating content for multiple partners around the globe. This is going to be a great stage, if you will, to create that content. And Chicagoland, you're going to be in for a special treat. 6 shows.
If you're wondering what that's going to look like, throw it in your Google machine. The interior of this building is fantastic. It's going to look fantastic on TV. I can't wait to see it. I just like when, because a lot of times we see online, Jeff, of course, with the internet wrestling community, sometimes no matter what, it's a gotcha. But we heard for years, or I guess the latter year or so, hey, I wish AEW would run smaller venues. Well, now they are running slightly smaller buildings for sure. I mean, in Chicago, we've seen them run much bigger buildings. But what I've appreciated about this step, I don't care about the business piece of it. That's not for my concern. But man, it looks so different than. And I think about our buddy Eric Bischoff, who says, when he was trying to tune up Nitro to go head to head with Raw, he could be, better than, less than, or different than. But these sets are different than what we're seeing on every other television program. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of WWE fans like myself miss about the old pay-per-view sets. Every set had like its own unique feel. If you were in your house, you came through the set of a house. If it was Armageddon, maybe there were burned out cars or whatever. I just love that. And on the WCW side of things, Bash at the Beach, well, we're going to have a boardwalk and we're going to have sand and Halloween Havoc, we're going to have the graveyard and the giant pumpkin and anything we can do to make the shows feel different and unique. I'm all for. I don't want to see the exact same, because if we're just running major arenas and you're running, digital boards like WWE does, and in years past AEW has, the city doesn't really matter. It's like, okay, it's the exact same look, that consistency. And I kind of like that we're switching it up a little bit now, Jeff. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. And you took one of the thoughts right out of my brain when, the early stages of TNA, when the financing went south, it was a devastating. And I know the agency had, I'll call them C&D markets, but some of these markets were a little bit bigger than C&D. But anyway, the Dayton, Ohio, I just remember looking at that sheet, and that was in probably, we launched in June, so maybe May, beginning of June and all that, then the financing. And then my old man said, "Jeff, who cares?" And I said, "Well, we've got to reel in the sidewalks here quickly." He's like, "Anyway," so Conrad, we did a 2-year residency at the Nashville Sports Arena. And when I look back and the electricity and the vibe and everything that got going in there, and Jeez, Conrad, where I'm going with this is I'll never forget the look on Kevin Kay at the Spike TV president, his face when we showed the sizzle reel and everything that went with it as a part of our presentation, and just the smiles that they give it and this and that. And look, in a lot of ways, a sizzle reel from the asylum is what sold Spike. It's just that simple. So, you can create so much electricity. And look, I'm not comparing the National Sports Arena to the 2300 or the Argonne or anything, but to your point, the different vibes and feels can really lend itself to professional wrestling shows.
Let's talk about some other news and notes, specifically with AEW. I don't know if you saw this, but early this morning, Darby Allin posted on social media he reached the summit of Mount Everest, and he managed to not only get there, but he got there with an AEW flag, which I thought was super cool. I mean, this is a feat that I don't think has ever been or will ever be replicated in wrestling before. Like, I know there's crazy daredevils out there, but goodness gracious. The top of Mount Everest? And I can only guess. I guess there's probably a joke in there. How's he getting down? Maybe a coffin drop? I don't know. Hey, Jeff, what do you think of this? Are you heading up Mount Everest anytime soon? Are you next?
I was about to ask you, is that on your bucket list?
Nope.
No, it's not?
No, sir.
No, I don't think it's on mine either. I have no desire to climb up a mountain, but no, I love, I told Karen that this morning. We were talking about it before I headed out the door. You just got to admire somebody with that kind of passion. As crazy as it may sound, what's Darby, late 20s, something, early 30s? I don't know the exact age, but he's at a place in life. And I guess, why'd he do that? And Darby's response might be, well, why not? I literally very impressed with the will to go do that and accomplish it. So when I saw the list of his team and when I saw Sherpa, like, he went all in, pardon the pun, but man, the pro's pro, and he did it. And seriously, congrats, huge congrats.
Yeah, that's a memory for a lifetime for sure. And hey, maybe it's time you need a wallet that will last you like a lifetime. I'm talking about Ridge. This is one of my favorite sponsors. I have to admit, I had a Ridge long before they were a sponsor. I know that Jeff's got one too. And Jeff is actually replacing a giant crusty leather brick that was falling apart. I mean, it would have made George Costanza's look like amateur hour. We've all heard that Jeff has a chiropractic relationship. He's got a great close personal relationship with a chiropractor. It's probably from sitting on that old brick before, but not anymore. The Ridge is unique. It's slim, and it's got a modern design that holds up to 12 cards plus your cash. And it's made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, and mine's actually carbon fiber. There's over 50 different colors and styles to choose from. And did I mention that all of the Ridge products actually have a lifetime warranty? This is literally the last wallet you'll ever have to buy. And I should mention that you have peace of mind knowing that all Ridge wallets have RFID blocking technology right there. It's going to keep you safe from those digital pickpocketers. And don't just take our word for it. Why don't you go check out the more than 100,000 5-star reviews that the Ridge wallet has? I should mention that the Ridge AirTag attachment is going to give you the real peace of mind. Before panic mode kicks in, the Ridge AirTag attachment is going to have your back. I mean, I think we've all had that feeling before where, oh man, I'm getting ready to go. And what was that Adam Sandler song? You got to have your wallet, keys, and your watch and your phone, right? Well, dude, nobody wants to lose their wallet. And you want to talk about traveling and feeling helpless? That happened to me once. We were doing a tour. Where were we? We're in the UK, Jim Ross and I. I left my wallet in the hotel and we went to the next town. So I was 2 days without it and wasn't exactly sure where it was. I hoped it was at the hotel. Now with the Ridge AirTag attachment, I don't have to worry anymore. By the way, Ridge isn't just about wallets. They've got everything you need, all your essentials, key cases, suitcases, rings, all have the same sleek, durable design. And no matter what you pick, Ridge has free shipping and they give you a 99-day risk-free trial, plus a lifetime warranty on all of their products. And right now, Ridge is having their huge Memorial Day sale. Check this out. 40% off at ridge.com/myworld. Just head on over to ridge.com/myworld to see their biggest sale of the year. And after you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. That's ridge.com/myworld.
Conrad, I got to say this. Mine was sitting out. I got 4 daughters, boyfriends over. There was a big commotion and all this. Walked out of the bedroom, and they were talking about the Ridge. No, they were talking about the wallet. Conrad, Karen goes, you know what? On the pod, tell old Connie that this would be a perfect Father's Day gift. And I went,
Come on now.
Queen is on it, folks. I promise you, the best wallet by far I've ever had. It the AirTag stuff above my pay grade, but it makes total sense. And don't lose your damn wallet. But if you do, have Ridge AirTag. I'm not doing the read, but buddy, I kid you not. It is what a conversation piece that happened in the Jarrett household. So ridge.com/myworld, get 40% off.
Hey, let's talk about some other news and notes before we jump on our topic today, which is Hard Justice 2005.
Oh, yeah.
But there was a statement that was made that I wanted to get your take on. It's from your locker room stablemate, if you will, Kenny Omega.
Okay.
Who says, quote, I don't know if I've ever said it publicly or not, but I think we're headed on a path where a couple of WrestleManias down the road, the main event is going to be Logan Paul versus Mr. Beast. And it's like, what's the wrestling acumen? How many miles have they put into it? It's like, does it matter? This is the process of evolution. Now, of course, there's a lot of ways you could look at this and approach the subject as one of the boys or as the office. As if you wear your promoter hat, I understand what he's saying, that, hey, you're trying to court attention at all costs. And Mr. Beast is the biggest YouTube creator in the world. And I know that some people listening to this will take issue with this next statement, but he is the biggest content creator in the world. No one consumes more of his content. I mean, there is no one above him. We're talking a fella who, literally they're throwing money at him every time he posts on YouTube. He has cracked the code of courting attention. So I see why WWE would be interested in doing something with a Mr. Beast, but I also am not a pro wrestler. But I've heard the rumor and innuendo that some guys get a little frustrated occasionally when they work all year long, and this is back in yesteryear, and they're all hoping to have their WrestleMania moment. And Jeff, you were a victim of this. A segment runs long, you get your match cut at WrestleMania, man, it's got to be disheartening. That happened, and it happens. But I know that some talent feel like, hey, that's not fair. I've been here all year, and now this guy's here, and he's gonna take my shine at WrestleMania. Where do you land on this? Is this just the process of evolution? Because I don't really argue with what Kenny's saying. I could see that being the case, that it would be a featured thing at WrestleMania. But are we losing the soul of wrestling if we do something like that, Jeff?
Oh, God, man. Are you like, is this ball, am I playing T-ball or is this a softball you're throwing at me? Or you? Oh, okay. So I wish I had context. I didn't hear. Was Kenny, the context is king on this, was he kind of down when he's saying this? Or I don't want to say not happy with it, but not seeing, because when I just read that, again, I had heard about this. I'm trying to think. I think Cody actually referenced something on this. But anyway,
do you like it or not, Jeff? Mr. Beast versus Logan Paul at WrestleMania, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle.
Not only yes, but a big hell yes. That's what okay. I'll say this. I may like it a whole lot more or hate it afterwards if it doesn't do big business. But look, we're in the black ink at the end of the day, black ink versus red ink. And you want eyeballs on the product and the positioning. And is it truly the main event? I mean, we're going to get into context and slicing and dicing and all kinds of things. But man, at the end of the day, we are in the professional wrestling business, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. And that's all about creating revenue. Will this create more revenue with them on the show short term and long term, or we'll be better off short term and long term not have them on the show. I'm going to say it's a no brainer. It is an absolute, the biggest content creator in the world is going to introduce your product to a lot of new folks. Look, we can talk forever about this, but I won't get any more long-winded, Conrad. I think I mean, yes, athletes, influencers, entertainers, if you're willing to put in the work and get in the ring and do what you need to do, I'm all for it. Big time, all for it.
What do you think that means for the professional wrestlers who are trying to make it? I mean, listen, there's rumor and innuendo that, well, it's not even a rumor. I mean, listen, Corey Graves expressed some frustration, whether it was in character or out, I don't really know, but he expressed some frustration with the idea that he had been replaced as one of the voice of the broadcast by Pat McAfee, almost, making it, I don't know, are we sending a message? Hey kids, don't chase your wrestling dreams, chase your content creator dreams, court as much attention as you can, learn how to wrestle along the way, and then present yourself an opportunity to WWE. I mean, I know that some people will hear that and think that I'm being negative, but I'm really not. It is a standard business practice to make yourself valuable to a business,
That's
to
right.
offer greater value to a business than the salary that you would command in return. You want to create $100 worth of value and ask for $50 just to make it old school. Do you think that changes the way some wrestlers approach this? Like, would they instead try to is the path to having success in wrestling now to become a quote unquote influencer who learns how to wrestle?
Okay, Conrad, and here's something we just kind of touched on. You mean you wrestle in Memphis every Monday night, every Tuesday night, every Wednesday night? Thank God I had this on an upbringing and everything that goes with it, because before day one, but when I got into the business, and last night, Conrad, I was talking to a young upstart independent wrestler, and he's, hey man, you got any advice for me? And I always I don't know where they're at in their career, and I'm try to be like short, succinct, and then kind of get a response. And I said, hey man, it's this simple. If you get in it for money or fame as your number one, and you can put those either way, if that's the reason you get into this business, you're not going to make it. You got to get into the industry because you love it. Okay. And I said, the second piece of advice is this: your in-ring work is less than half of your success. And he looked at me and I said, I'm just telling you. And the reason I say that is, from the day I got into the business, and you have to think through the cadence, there was no high spot I was going to do in front of the Mid-South Coliseum. The 37th Monday in a row that I wrestled there, that was going to get the people like, oh, wow, you're going to run out of that. But man, if you learn how to talk and convey emotion and tell different stories, that's it. So that's where I think a lot of guys, and it's no fault of their own, but when they get into this industry, they truly believe, if I can go out and have a match that literally blows everybody away on this said event, wherever it may be, and the chances are you're not going to come back to that audience for a long time, then you're leaving the ring and having, there's nothing wrong with it, the best match of the night by leaps and bounds. And I won't get into star ratings and all that, but I'm just saying it's very, very, but when you think that, okay, man, I'm on the road to a successful career, but the reality is, in my opinion, like I shared with that young guy last night, your in-ring work is less than half of your equation to be successful. Well, what's the other half? Promo skills, charisma, marketability, and now it goes without saying, your social media presence. And guys that tweet about a ham sandwich and then bitch about an airline and then talk about politics and talk about whatever, and then all of a sudden they're going to get in character for a wrestling promo. It's like, dude, it ain't going to click. So, Conrad, I'm all caffeined up. You know, you've been on a couple of calls with me today. So we ain't even got to our topic I've been talking about. I'm wound up, but the silliness that people are throwing a pity party for guys that have been wrestling and might get knocked out of their spot. It's like, come on, guys, grow up. You don't even know what industry you're in, Conrad. Is that a little stiff? Is that a little stiff, pal?
It is a little stiff. It's so stiff, it makes me think I should tell everybody that Blue Chew can get you stiffer than Jeff Jarrett responding to some criticism about being a shameless self-promoter. Blue Chew Max has arrived. That's some late breaking news here. Listen, even if you've tried Blue Chew before, I'm going to encourage you to try Blue Chew Max. It combines the active ingredients of Viagra and Cialis into one chewable. It's a combo that acts fast and it lasts. And you can even get your first month of Blue Chew free. That's right. Great sex is just a few clicks away when you sign up at BlueChew.com. You'll consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA. They're prepared and shipped directly to your door, and the best part is it's all done online. Now, that means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversation, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. So make your life easier by getting harder and discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try your first month of Blue Chew free when you use our promo code MyWorld. Just pay $5 shipping. That's promo code MyWorld when you visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. Jeff, let's talk a little bit about some other news and notes. We're going to talk a little bit about Mexico. WWE has revealed that they're going to be planning 3 major live events centered around a show called Super Show Mexico. And Dominic Mysterio was asked about going to Mexico, and he says, before I even started wrestling and training, it's always been a dream of mine to be able to wrestle in Mexico with AAA as a part of AAA, because I always wanted to continue the Mysterio legacy and do it better than he did in every way, shape, and form. I'm currently in the WWE, and I'm already better than Rey Mysterio, right? I would love to go to AAA and cement my legacy there and make it better than he's already done. I'm going down to AAA and shit all over Rey Mysterio. So the name you remember coming out of AAA, Mexico, WWE, whatever, TNA, anything, when you hear the word Mysterio, you think Dominic Mysterio. I love that, and I love that he's going to be a part of these Mexican shows. WWE has also recently filed a trademark, and this just happened this morning, so I'm sure you didn't see it. King of the Luchadors. So it feels like, there is a lot of movement from the WWE south of the border. It even looks like Triple Mania is growing. TNA has confirmed that a lot of their talent is going to be a part of the first Triple Mania this season. It's happening at June 15th in Arena Monterrey. So Joe Hendry, Moose, the Nemeth brothers, they're all going to be there. So you'll have WWE, TNA, and AAA all competing at that first Triple Mania, June 15th. This is an exciting time for wrestling south of the border, is it not?
Oh, I mean, AEW show at Arena Mexico, Monterrey getting their version of Triple Mania. I'm sure Mexico City in August will be one to remember. But I was just sitting here thinking, Conrad, can you imagine if old Simply Irresistible Jeff Jarrett would have walked out on Memphis TV and started dogging my dad and Jerry Lawler as a heel? Because I'm kind of living vicariously through Dom. He's dogging his dad, and that will play well. So, yeah, it's a very exciting time. Did they name the WWE talent on the Monterey show yet? Because Dolph was there last year. I'm curious to see how robust, I guess, is my thought process. And they're in the arena this year, not the baseball stadium. I love that baseball stadium in Monterey. But yeah, it's and we've talked, Conrad, me and you, for years, that Lucha Libre, that is it's just a different set of circumstances. Over 100 years, Lucha Libre has been ingrained in that culture. So I would say wrestling is as much or more culturally ingrained than it is here in America. And that's saying a lot.
I want to also touch on some news from TKO. It looks like Mark Shapiro has revealed during a JP Morgan conference last week, the TKO is going to be cutting back on house shows even more in the future. What do you make of that? I mean, do you feel like, we're talking about how wrestling is changing, and Kenny Omega suggesting that, hey, YouTube influencers may one day main event WrestleMania. And I don't see why not. I mean, we had a football player wrestle Bam Bam Bigelow in the main event, and we saw a movie star wrestle Sami Zayn and maybe steal the show a few years ago in the Jackass match. There will be a place for that match on a WrestleMania card. Kenny is exactly right. But to see that evolution and to see the evolution of the house show business, I mean, this used to be the lifeblood of professional wrestling. The television shows were considered almost an infomercial to get you to buy tickets for those live events. And all of that is changing now. And it's never been more clear than when the leader in the space says, yeah, we're going to run even fewer of those. I mean, there already weren't running many, Jeff, but to come back and say, yeah, expect even less. How does that strike you?
Who owns TKO? The reality. Anyway, what I'm saying is, I think WWE or TKO, they're going to run less house shows. But when one door closes, another one opens. I think the opportunities for independent wrestling and other promotions are going to continue to grow and grow and grow. But Conrad, you people and maybe the hardcore wrestling fan, and I'll say this, a music agent called me last week. He was looking at different things to buy. I mean, for fair shows and all. We just got into a good old conversation, but we had this conversation, and I said, WWE, and I didn't even know this would come out, but I said they've cut way back, but the opportunity for promotions around the globe continues to go. And he said, well, why do you say that? I said, all right, let's look at Major League Baseball. What was it, 4 years ago? The commissioner came in and they slashed 30 teams, then another 30. Anyway, they went from about 160 or 80 down to 120, and there's talk about 9. So Major League is removing as many minor league clubs as possible, but that's opening up for independent baseball, collegiate baseball, and more importantly, or more money involved, the NIL and college games. So there's actually more baseball being played. You look at basketball, when you look at the developmental system, Conrad, it used to be in high school, you played for your high school team, then to college, and you stayed 4 years, and then you went to the pro. Now, all the summer leagues, and I'm really giving a snapshot, but those guys are playing more ball. They play 12 months out of the year. Same in the music business. It used to have kind of a trajectory, but I mean, you can be an artist in Austin, in Nashville, in Florida, and you can weave your way up. So just because the leader in the marketplace, and I get it, that's why I was led with that question. Private equity, they're all about the ROI, period. And a big outfit like WWE, I'll say that, they can't roll into Jonesboro, Arkansas. Just to get in and out of town, they got to gross 150,000, maybe more or something like that. So the margins just aren't there. It just doesn't make any sense. And I get it because of their business model. But for another promotion, there's lots of money to be made in, I'll say, even B and C and D markets. So I get why WWE's doing it, because they report half to the street and half to private equity. I don't envy them, because I do think there is a kind of a long-term effect. WWE will always get the talent. They write, AEW and WWE write the big checks, but the developmental, and they'll get there, and the Mr. Beast, all this. It's fun just to see how you can take it a bunch of different ways, but there's a reason why independent wrestling is being embraced across the board, because that is where the talent's going to come from. But that quote unquote house shows, I get it. But I do think, Jesus, man. And back to my call, I said, if there's really smart promoters out there that, because there's promoters out there that will promote rock and Tejano and classic, whatever. I said, man, if they get their hands around promoting wrestling, I said, you in the right markets, you can come back 2, maybe 3 times a year if you do it smart. And anyway, that's how the conversation ended. So doesn't surprise me, Conrad, but I think the big takeaway from all of that is Shapiro is basically saying, we got to have profit at every turn, and that's great, but that presents opportunities for others in the industry.
Let's talk about another opportunity for somebody else in the industry we both think a lot of. Miz has been named the new host of American Gladiators. The report is they're going to lean into the nostalgic version of American Gladiators, the one, well, everybody my age grew up watching, not necessarily the relaunch that Hulk Hogan and Layla Ali did, or even the, I don't know, I guess it was Titan Games, I think, that Rock called it on NBC a few years ago. Neither one of those really worked, but there is still an appetite for nostalgia. Thank you for tuning into my world today, by the way. I'm a big fan of the American Gladiators, and I think Miz as a host, that could be really, really cool. Were you an American Gladiators fan? Do you think this has upside for Miz?
I remember as a little kid saying, "Oh, they're doing a takeoff on professional wrestling," because it had kind of that vibe to it. Our friend, Nick Aldis was a gladiator. And Conrad, I don't know if you know this, but today, as we speak, I think the season is coming to an end in the UK. But Conrad, over the last year, they've set monster ratings in the UK, Gladiators. So it is an old nostalgia format. But what's, as my friend Dutch Mantel often would say, hey, man, what's old's new again? But it will do well. I truly believe. Did I see? I was reading that quick. Amazon Prime, is that where it's going to land at?
Yes, that's right. It's going to be on Amazon Prime. The same people who just carved off Mr. Beast a boatload of cash for Beast Games and then renewed it. So
content is king, pal. Amazon, they got a few bucks to. What do you say, Conrad? They got a few bucks to spend.
I think so.
They've been about 3 times already today. Damn it.
Batista is also making some news. He was recently doing an interview and he was asked to compare his Hollywood lifestyle with his wrestling lifestyle. And he claims that Hollywood is a cakewalk compared to being a pro wrestler. He says, quote, being in Hollywood and being on a film set, it's long hours, but compared to the grind of being a professional wrestler, it's just a cakewalk. I mean, it's night and day. And we've heard from a lot of people who get frustrated with all the hurry up and wait that happens on a movie set, but I don't think that those people realize that there's a fair amount of hurry up and wait when you're producing live wrestling for television too. What do you make of this? Hollywood is a cakewalk compared to being a pro wrestler.
Well, Batista ain't the first person to say that. Certainly won't be the last. I've worked with different stuntmen and had conversation with those guys, obviously actors and actresses, professional athletes. And look, Stone Cold, he was very, very clear because he's done TV, he's done film, obviously done wrestling, and he's just like, guys, it's kind of a no-brainer. You fly into a town and go work out and then come to a building and yes, it is such a unique form of entertainment that people that are in other forms of entertainment, when they find out really what wrestling is about, it's just a complete head scratcher. Like, you do what? Yeah. So I chuckle, but good for Batista for voicing it. I'm glad it kind of gets out there because I do think in the whole DNA of professional wrestling, it's always ebbed and flowed. Oh, y'all just do that phony stuff. And once people really come around to it, you go, oh, okay, maybe it's not so phony. But yeah, it's the bumps and the physicality and the travel and the conditioning. It is a tough way to make a living.
We should hit the news that,
oh boy,
LFG has been renewed. And I have to admit, I wasn't sold on this. We saw Tough Enough way back when, over 20 years ago. Then we saw Stone Cold dust off Tough Enough, gosh, more than 10 years ago. And now it feels like this is a derivative of all that, but it's enjoyed great success. Silva can throw that graphic back up for us. We know Mickie James was a part of this season. We know The Undertaker. We know Bully Ray. We know Booker T. And I've seen a lot of conversation online about it. Our pal Jeremy Borash was even doing voiceovers of some of the matches. But Mickie James was quoted about the LFG being renewed for 3 more years. Quote, it was a lot of fun to be the first ever and to have the success, to know it's gotten picked up for not just another season, but for 3 years. So like 6 seasons, hopefully. That's a big damn deal. I loved it, and you're welcome. We both think a lot of Mickey and this entire outfit here, but I have to say, since we didn't see this have meteoric success before, I wasn't bullish on this. Well, shame on me. It got renewed. That tells you how hot wrestling is,
Oh boy.
don't you think?
Well, and here's when you kind of dial it back, because I was still there at the time, Conrad. The A&E connection or deal structure, when that was put in place, I just got to tip my cap to the executives at A&E who said, we're in. We'll take shoulder programming. We'll do this. We'll do that, because they have greatly benefited. I mean, they have tremendous, because they've built that wrestling night. And I think if you and Conrad, correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, Tough Enough and others, they've been kind of standalone shows. And I think some of them have followed Monday Night Raw for season and all that. But at the end of the day, this block that they've created is the secret sauce, in my opinion, that it has giving, because you've got nostalgia fans, you've got star power. If I'm a network executive and I'm sitting back and I'm seeing rivalries or whatever it may be, and man, how do we kind of create some current stuff? Well, shit, we got to have star power. Oh, okay. It's I can't say it's a no-brainer, but the decision makers at A&E that dove in and bit off and wrote big fat checks, this is why they did it, because now you're creating content and relatively inexpensive, and it'll go on all platforms. And then WWE social machine, it's just one big content creation hamster wheel.
Well, maybe you're ready to get off the hamster wheel. The Federal Reserve data is showing that the share of accounts making only minimum payments has now climbed above 11% as of the first quarter of this year.
Damn.
That's the highest level since they started recording and tracking this data back in 2012. But at the same time, a recent survey from Experian found that 2 in 5 Americans are carrying credit card debt and believe that making the minimum payment is enough to manage it. But like millions of Americans, are you too struggling with high interest rate credit card debt? And you feel stuck just making those minimum monthly payments? Well, you've heard me say it time and time again. Your home is still worth more than likely what you paid for it. So instead of carrying all that high interest rate debt month to month, why not use the equity in your home instead? Just take a look at Andy, my buddy up in Appleton, Wisconsin. He had some medical issues that forced him and his family to take on a lot of credit card debt. But we hooked him up at savewithconrad.com. We helped him take advantage of the equity he had in his home. He paid off that debt, and he's going to save more than $1,000 a month. But how much can you save? Let my team run the numbers for you today for free, just like we did for Andy. There's no cost and no obligation, and if we can't help you save some cash, we won't waste your time. It costs nothing to look, as our pal JR says. And when you work with the team at savewithconrad.com, you can also expect our year 3 guarantee. Experts agree that interest rates are set to fall within the next few years, but we have an exclusive 3-year guarantee that allows you to refinance in the next 3 years at any time with no lender fees. So you lock in a better rate and reduce your monthly payments today, but you don't waste money with a whole nother set of closing costs later. The best time to start saving money is today. Well, actually, it was yesterday, but today is the next best opportunity. So why not access some of that newfound equity in your house to turn your house into your dream home with no money out of pocket? If you've got some honey-do renovations you'd like to do, maybe you've always wanted to upgrade your kitchens or bathrooms, you've got the equity in your house to do that too. No matter what you're looking for, we can help at savewithconrad.com. Find out how easy it is to get started. And just so you know, you don't need perfect credit. So even if you've had some problems, we don't say no, we say not yet, but here's how. We want to get you on a path to making those financial goals a reality at savewithconrad.com. Why not let my family help your family save some cash at savewithconrad.com? NMLS number 2129, equal housing lender, savewithconrad.com. Jeff, something that felt fake.
Uh-oh.
I mean, like, this feels like we're living in a simulation at times, because I was scrolling social media like we all do. I think the kids call it doom scrolling. And I saw something I never imagined that these words would touch.
Roll Tide.
But I guess Hulk Hogan is trying to buy Hooters. This is a real thing. Hulk Hogan and Real American Brands want to acquire the Hooters IP. This is a part of a mission to take over existing brands that represent what America is all about: freedom, grit, and good times. And I guess the Real American brand hopes to bring Hooters back to relevancy. This was reported by TMZ last week. I don't know if it's real or if it's just a nice way to get some people talking. I mean, it feels like, we see these sort of things, these publicity stunts in other arenas. I'm not saying Hogan's done it, but, like whenever someone has some controversial opinion or take, some big brand will say, we'll give you $1 million if you do XYZ. And just by making the offer, they get some coverage. But if there really was an idea of putting together Hooters and Hulk Hogan, I actually buy it, because I can't tell you how many times I've seen a UFC, or years prior to that, like 20 years ago, you could go to a Hooters and watch a WWE pay-per-view. I remember watching, I think it was SummerSlam 02 at a Hooters. So if you're just catering to sort of guy stuff, I totally see why this makes sense, but I just did not have this on my bingo card. Hooters and Hulk Hogan. What say you, Jeff?
I was just sitting there thinking that look, Conrad, you're probably going to get me in trouble. I probably just need to shut my mouth. I'll just say this. What was this? When was it launched? The 80s, the 90s? Society was in a different spot. And we all know it. Obviously it's a guy's place. Well, I don't think the guys always went there just to eat their great wings. Although through the years, I love their shrimp. They used to serve oysters.
The buffalo shrimp was the shit. You can be honest.
They did have great, we'll call it bar food. But Conrad, I mean, just the whole branding was done, wrapped around guys going to look at their waitresses, preferably below the neck. But Conrad, I'll just say, in the world we live in today, it could get real interesting. Who the servers would be. I don't want to say waiter or waitresses. I'll just say the servers. We could really get some interesting dining experiences. Why are you asking me this? No, but I can see it. Or maybe, if we're going to stay in the Hogan demo, maybe you have some older ladies being servers now. Is that what you're looking for, Conrad?
Can you imagine? That would be hilarious.
I want to see, I think we've shared, there's a couple of favorites. The Theo Von AI stuff as a baby is
great.
It is. But can you imagine some new memes coming out of older ladies being Hooters waitresses? And Hogan coming up. Oh God, I'm not even going to do it. Conrad, what are we doing? Are we talking about Gail Kim today? I mean, we've gone off the rails again. Do we have a topic? Are you going to bring up a topic? Is Silva awake? You're throwing me Hulk Hogan and Hooters.
Wait a minute. That's what people are talking about, Jeff. People are talking. Let me ask you this. If you were going to buy, well, hang on. If Jerry Lawler can have slam burgers, why can't Hulk Hogan have Hooters?
Hulk Hooters can have all the Hooters can have all the Hogans. Oh, he can have all the Hooters he wants. My goodness. AI is a wonderful thing. And I don't know if you got to see Caitlin Clark, and I know you're not the biggest of basketball fans.
Oh, I saw the Angel Reese foul. Yeah, the big controversy.
The press conference post game.
Oh, the AI version.
Yeah.
The AI version was something else.
We could go on and on and on, but yeah. Good stuff, pal. Good stuff. So
don't you assume I'm being serious here? I know you don't want to talk about it. I can tell you're uncomfortable, but I can't help it.
No, go ahead.
Hulk Hogan, if he really does get Hooters,
mm-hmm.
it's going to have a big pro wrestling influence, will it not?
Oh, hell yes.
I'm just saying, like, watch parties at Hooters owned by Hulk Hogan. And I just think about some of the past and former, divas of wrestling. I think they could be brand ambassadors for this. Like, are you telling me, like, I know that they don't market it this way now, but if this was a generation ago and they were going to promote, Hooters and they had, the Tori Wilsons and the Marlenas and the Sunnies and the Sables, and it was Hulk Hogan's Hooters. I mean, I know it's a different time, but I am saying if that is a brand that I think if they reimagine it, it's going to be largely built on nostalgia. So I could see there being a big pro wrestling influence. It wouldn't surprise me. Like we've both been to the bar at Jimmy's Famous Seafood in Baltimore. So you've got the fine dining section of Jimmy's Famous Seafood. Then you've got like the private party room upstairs where we've done podcasts, live shows, and things like that. Then you've got like a bar, like a nightclub with a DJ and a band or live music upstairs. But right next to the fancy dining room downstairs, before you get to the takeout side, because this is a massive operation, there is like that sports bar right there on the left. And that's where I always hang out. And I can't tell you how many times I've been there and they've just got old school wrestling on or an old school UFC on. And I do think nostalgia is more important now than maybe ever before. Hulk Hogan represents that nostalgia. So if you do dovetail that in with Hooters, this could be an exciting thing for a TKO partnership.
Well, I'll say a wrestling partnership. I mean, AEW, TKO. So I'm drawing a blank, but our buddy Paul Benson does the watch parties in the UK because those folks stay up late. But, we'll call it, but to your point, I'm all about, because wrestling now, I can't, Halloween costumes. Every now and again in the 90s when it was red hot, you would hear, oh, this guy dressed up as Stone Cold or maybe a Rock. Nowadays, I mean, when a Halloween season comes around, it's filled with folks dressed up, cosplaying wrestlers and all that. So you can, no kidding. You can see their waiters or waitresses at Hooters all dressed up in their favorite wrestler outfit, doing the watch parties, doing the giveaways. The monetization of it. Okay. If we're being serious, Conrad, I think it's a slam dunk, because at its core, Buffalo Wild Wings might be a little bit out of their wheelhouse, but those kind of places, but a Hooters with Hogan somewhat as a brand ambassador and a few others thrown in there. Cause I think you could have the MMA watch parties, wrestling watch parties, during football season. You could, it's just yes, I think there's all kinds of way to do it. I mean, here in Hendersonville, when Steeler games, obviously aren't on, and there's different places around town, those rooms are full of Steeler fans only. Cause anyway, if we're being serious, Conrad, I think it's a great opportunity for somebody.
Let me say this too. If they're still working on distribution for Real American Freestyle, driving people to go to Hooters to watch it.
Shit.
I mean,
yep.
It feels like an opportunity. We'll see. But I was just like, wait a minute, is this real? But then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, hang on. I did watch UFC there. I did watch WWE there. They are targeting men with that beer. If they sold that beer on tap and they used it to show Real American Freestyle, carry the one. I mean, I could see it.
Yep. I'm with you all the way.
We'll see what happens. And we're going to see what happens this weekend. Saturday night's main event is coming up. I can't believe it's time for another one already. We've got Damian Priest taking on Drew McIntyre inside the confines of a steel cage, or as Bruce might call it, a salad steel cage. We've also got CM Punk and Sami Zayn teaming up to take on Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. It feels like a pay-per-view so far. We've got Jey Uso versus Logan Paul for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And a lot of people are nervous about that. The Logan haters are nervous about that. But the main event is John Cena and R-Truth. And I can't say I had that on my bingo card. I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know what to expect. I have no inside information. Does feel like a good place to bring back Cody Rhodes, hypothetically. What do you think of this lineup that WWE's pushing out this weekend for Saturday night's main event?
So do we really need to go back and discuss why WWE's cutting even more house shows? Because their stars are on Saturday night main event, the pay-per-view, and the international travel, and Raw and SmackDown, and moonlighting on NXT. They don't have time for it. Happy for truth, but let me ask you, Conrad, because you got to deliver. You just have to deliver for your distributor. And do you think creative treats this like a premium live event or like a Raw?
Well, if you recall the first Saturday night's main event, I think that was December. I think they had 5 matches, and it felt very rushed, like they had to zip through. There was no wasted time. I think they will be afforded the opportunity to let some stuff breathe here. I would assume they start with the cage match just based on the timing to get that set up. And then I feel like we go real heavy story and we finish with John Cena and R-Truth. I could be wrong. I mean, I know back in the day, Saturday night's main event, when it was a late night opportunity, they typically started with the big stuff first. I remember, they'd have like Hogan and Andre on first, and then they'd finish with the Rougeau Bros versus, the Hart Foundation or something like that. I think they have to treat it like exactly what it is. It's prime time. We don't need to necessarily super serve our wrestling base. We need to appeal to everyone. And I don't expect we're going to see a Matt Classic with John Cena and R-Truth. I think it's heavy on story.
Yeah.
Do you think they do what a lot of wrestling fans would think is the unthinkable? Do you think they put the world title on Logan Paul, or is it too soon?
Too soon. I don't think they'll take it off Jay at this stage. That's what, and I guess that goes into my question. How are they treating this? Is it a bridge? Man, they create a lot of content. You joking, half joking, whatever. Good place for Cody, man. That could catapult him into the summer, get us off, get them off and running for SummerSlam. I don't know.
Just as a reminder, we're on our way to Backlash. That's May 10th. No, we just finished Backlash, so we're headed to Battleground. I'm sorry.
That's what I'm saying.
Which is the NXT show later this month, but the actual next pay-per-view is When Worlds Collide, the WWE /NXT /AAA show. But if we talk just WWE show, it's Money in the Bank. That's that same evening.
Yeah, and that's July or June?
June 7th.
Okay, so we're right in the middle of it. That's I think I in my mind. Yeah. So wow, a lot of content, lots of content. I don't know. God, I don't know, man. You're getting into because when those 4 or 5 matches, the cage, and you can't say that Cena's not in the main event, but I don't think anybody thinks the title switching on either of the title matches, and the Punk match is a tag and storyline. I don't know. It doesn't feel like, and I say this with a huge caveat from creative is subjective, and they may be doing this by design. That's why I'm going back. Is this a TV? Because are they putting their best foot forward? Yeah, probably are, because of the massive amount of content and the numbers they got to hit. But what a grind. Damn, what a grind.
Well, if you're ready to stop grinding so much and growing your business, can I recommend you give the hot tag to Envision Marketing Consultants? My man Eric Nichols really helped me out, and he'll help you too. When I first started advertising, here's what I knew. I want to spend X amount of dollars, and for those dollars, I need to expect X number of leads. And out of those leads, I hope to convert X number into sales. I mean, that's it. Just old school country math, right? And that worked for radio and TV, but I could not figure out how to, quote unquote, buy digital. I tried it with the radio stations. They took my order. They took my money. They did not deliver results. And the TV stations did the exact same. They knew their business, radio and TV. They did not know digital. And here's what I mean. If your company is doing any of this or thinks about doing any of this, SEO, pay per click, targeted display, or just ads on streaming video like Hulu or YouTube or even Amazon, you need to go check out my friends at Envision Marketing Consultants. Anytime one of my entrepreneur buddies or small business friends would say to me, hey man, I'm really trying to get some more leads in here. What should I do? I always say, I got a guy. And I said that so often that Eric Nichols actually has conradsguy.com. And I want you to go check out conradsguy.com because he is who I recommend to all of my buddies in small business roles, whether you're doing B2B or retail or food and beverage or manufacturing or nonprofits, whatever it is, he can help you. I want to say it again. He helped me with freaking mortgages. So whatever you're doing is going to be easier to market and sell. And if Eric can't help your company and he can't add value and he thinks you're on the right track, well, they'll tell you that too. They're not going to waste your time. And it's nice just to get that peace of mind. Trust me, it's worth a little bit of time it'll take. If they do half as good for you as they do for me, you'll see why I tell everybody I got a guy. Go right now to conradsguy.com, fill out the fast and easy form, and let Eric and his team get your digital marketing on track. That's conradsguy.com, Envision Marketing Consultants, where smart but simple marketing drives results.
I love it. Love it.
Jeff, let's talk about Sabu. There has been a lot of discourse in the past few weeks about Sabu. Of course, he had his last match at Game Changer Wrestling's Las Vegas event. It was called Joey Janela Spring Break. It was presented as if it would be Sabu's last match. It wound up being a barbed wire match, and there were some scary spots watching it, but that's not unique for a Sabu match. But he was at WrestleCon the very next day, making appearances, and even a week before he passed away, he was at a event at the 2300 Arena, the former ECW Arena, celebrating Joel Goodhart, who's recently put out a book, and he was there hanging out with our pal Mike Johnson and all the other regulars. And then sadly, last weekend, he passed away. And we talked a little bit about Sabu on the show last week, but when you and I got a chance to catch up last week, we had not yet heard from Rob Van Dam. We saw his fitting tribute that he tried to encapsulate his friendship with words on a social media post, but he was most known for being Sabu's greatest tag team partner. And he hopped on the horn with Sabu's greatest rival, Taz. And Taz and RVD did a stream together last week on Rob Van Dam's podcast, and they set the record straight about Sabu. He wasn't actually 60. He was 61. His birth year was 1963, not 64. He was not born Terrence Brunk. He was Terry Brunk. And there was a lot of people who took issue with the story, and I guess it was based on an interview that Joey Janela put out there that said that Sabu enjoyed marijuana products, which are legal in Nevada, and kratom. Kratom, as I understand it, comes from a coffee plant, and lots of people use it for lots of different reasons. But immediately, the Boo Birds came out of the woodwork to say that Joey Janela and GCW killed Sabu, as tacky and silly and dumb as that is. Rob Van Dam set the record straight about kratom and Sabu. And he also revealed that Sabu hoped to do one more match. He wanted to have a barbed wire match, and he even wanted to have it against Rob Van Dam.
No way.
But Sabu felt like maybe that was cheating to wrestle, his best friend one last time. So maybe there was discussion that he would have one last match in Japan. But Rob really tried his best to sort of poke holes in the whole, hey guys, Kratom and GCW did not kill Sabu. You and I have not participated in any of that discourse. I'm sure we both have our different opinions, but we've not talked about it at all. So I just wanted to give you a chance to sort of, say your piece about this, I guess, controversy about Sabu and Kratom and GCW. I know you were at GC. You had some shots with GCW in years past. You obviously worked a lot with Sabu, even very early in his career. Some of his first stuff he ever did was in Memphis in a tag team match with you and Mr. Fuller. Talk to me about Sabu and GCW and this controversy, if you will.
And look, I am probably the last person on earth, because I don't have any context of we'll call it the Las Vegas WrestleMania weekend. But I do have experience around, we'll call it substances and all that. And when people try to hang on or hang somebody with, they cause this, they cause that. I can only share on my own experience, strength, and hope. And my experience is not once did anybody hold a gun to my head and say, "Hey, Jeff, you got to drink that beer." Not once. So we all have our individual decisions to make, good or bad, positive or negative. And regardless of the circumstances, it's up to each individual to make those decisions. And, Conrad, I don't know if this is the place, but, now a little time has gone on, but it's ridiculous to hang a promotion or an individual without knowing the facts. I don't have a clue what really went down. I do know that he passed away. I think it's very heartwarming. It's really cool. I've gotten a lot of feedback, both online and a couple of different texts about, my basically byline of the whole deal was, man, Sabu gave a lot more to this industry than he took. And not everybody can say that. You just can't, about guys that have been in the business. And Sabu, like myself, approaching 40 years. And so for a guy like Sabu, who has been around the world multiple times for, I truly believe that he gave a lot more than he received. But as far as his passing, I don't know the details. I do know that it was his time, and our good Lord decided that it like he will decide for all of us, our time on earth is up. But Conrad, do we know what happened? Like what did the coroner's report say? Because to me, all this about nothing that people, and I didn't even realize it gotten that bad, Connie, but it's nonsense to hang it on GCW or anyone, to be honest with you, unless there's some real facts and details coming out that I'm obviously not aware of.
Well said, Jeff. I mean, to your point, I don't think any of us have any copy of an autopsy report or anything silly like that. But the word that I've heard is that it was heart failure. And of course, that's pretty generic. I mean, we don't know anything more than that. What we do know is Dominic D'Angelo put together a GoFundMe for Sabu with a goal of $25,000. And as we're recording this, they've already done more than double that. In the next few days, they did more than double that. Last I saw, it was over $53,000 with a $25,000 goal. The usual suspects were there and answering the call. Guys like Chris Jericho, who's always there to open his wallet for his wrestling brethren, but also Scott D'Amore actually made a promise that on one particular night, any donation that was made, he would match it dollar for dollar. He came in for more than $15,000, nearly $16,000. I mean, Sabu's legacy is going to be far reaching. We're talking about Terry Brunk and his final days, but the reality is the legacy of Sabu and his influence will never die. And I just hate that even now, when we all acknowledge what a great innovator he is and all that, there's a large portion of the fandom that really looks to point fingers and say, "Oh, it's this person's fault. It's that person's fault." It's just disappointing, Jeff.
I'm not getting on my soapbox on this, but it is very, in a lot of ways, reflective of a certain segment of society. That's just, they're looking to blame someone and clickbait and this and that. But you know what? I won't go down that rabbit hole anymore. But what I will do is, I think it's been so cool to see, because look, everybody that knew Sabu, we all have our own kind of individual set points and relationships and experiences. And, I can remember Sabu backstage before, I don't care if it's a big match, a pay-per-view match, or a TV taping, or whatever it may be, just kind of his mindset of getting into it. And, the Abyss matches, but man, to hear Taz and RVD and others really speak to that. And then I always go back, and I shared quite a bit of it last week. I'm a third generation guy, and in a lot of ways, very grateful. It's one of the things I'm proud about, that, our business, we harp on it being pop culture, and we talk about Mr. Beast, but, as I told the fans last night in Tullahoma, Tennessee, 1946, my grandmother got in the business. So when you know that Sabu, he carried on from his uncle, and the rough, Jesus, the dues that guy paid, and then what he parlayed that into a 30 plus, almost 40-year career. There's just no place for it, but there's nothing you can do about all the negativity around it. But again, for my piece, I don't let that really enter into my brain space. I remember Sabu, all the good, everything he gave, and his legacy is just that. He gave so much more than he took from this business.
Let's go live some of the happier moments. I want to recommend everybody go watch Hostile City Showdown 1996. It went down April 20th, 1996. Sabu and Rob Van Dam helped make Rob Van Dam, and man, the magic they made together was fantastic. If you're looking for more Sabu content, I want to recommend you catch up with our conversation we had last week with Blue Meanie, Al Snow, Jerry Lynn, and Rhino. It's available now at podcastheatwrestling.com. And Tony Schiavone and I actually sat down and watched 4 different Sabu matches last week. Him versus Cactus Jack in a casino, where they actually took a bump. I think it was a pile driver on a blackjack table. Then we saw the fabulous tag match with Sabu and Rob Van Dam taking on Jinsei Shinzaki and Hayabusa. We saw Born to Be Wired with Sabu and Terry Funk. We introduced Sabu in a major way to Tony Schiavone. And if you're not super familiar with his work, or maybe you just want to go relive it, I recommend that one because it showed all the different styles, including Sabu versus Big Show from the WWE CW. And I think a lot of people really think about ECW when they think of Sabu, and they forget all the great series of matches he had with you in TNA, the stuff with Abyss and Rhino and Raven. There's so much great stuff that happened outside of ECW, whether it was WWE or TNA.
Yeah, the Abyss 4-way. Did we talk about that on the pod or off it? Because the kind of the magic those 4 guys, and on paper, you almost, and now look, I'm putting on my creative hat, Conrad, but on paper, so it was Abyss, Sabu, Raven, and Rhino, I think. Is that the 4? But anyway, you think, okay, there's no way those guys are going to be able to really deliver what that's just 4 ways sometimes can be really difficult. Make it into, I'll call it a hard way, even more difficult. But man, they just tore it down, and I think it's one of the highest rated matches if we're going down that road. But I just remember it was, I'll call it a Don West, Mike Tenay. I don't even know how you put it into words. There's all kind of, if that match would have happened today, the viral moments with Don West, his enthusiasm, and the high spots from Sabu, it'd have been a buzz, Connie. It definitely would have been a buzz.
We appreciate everybody tuning in to today's episode of My World. We're going to take a pause right there. We do have Hard Justice 05 on deck, and it almost feels like a rib at this point. Gail Kim too. So stay tuned. In the coming weeks, we're going to be talking about Saturday night's main event, and of course, Double or Nothing. All the news that's fit to print. Wait, we're not a newsletter. You get what I'm saying. We're going to hit all the headlines, and we're going to talk Hard Justice. And of course, Gail Kim right here on My World.
Peace.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what adfreeshows.com is all about. Get early ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? Ad-free shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. and you want to talk about early, you can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered, that adfreeshows.com is the best value in wrestling. Check it out today, and hey, when you do, the first week is completely free. adfreeshows.com.